talk to us about flow. I think
Yeah.
the book that both you and I had come across, it's a 2008 book. I think it's called Flow, The Psychology of Optimal Experience by a name I cannot begin to pronounce.
Michele Csikszentmihalyi. So he wrote the first book on flow, and then I think the sort of sequel, even though it's not by him, is a friend of mine, Stephen Kotler, wrote The Rise of Superman. So those
Okay.
two books work together, but it really
Okay.
is the science of the flow state being a very strange brain state consisting of theta waves and alpha waves and also a bunch of hormones. And so the flow state is this time, and the most, by the way, so peak performance zone, the zone, athletes call it by different names, musicians call it different names. We all have this experience though, where the hallmark of the zone and the flow state is where time stops or speeds up or both. And so you're like, where did those 3 hours go? Right. Or time stopped in that moment when I was talking to that woman. Like when the first time I saw
Yes.
my girlfriend in the gym, like there was a before and after for that moment, totally the flow state. And what's interesting about the flow state is we get a whole dose of various different brain chemicals from the endocrine system when we enter it. And so we get epinephrine, then dopamine, then serotonin, then anandamide, and then oxytocin in that order, which, as Stephen Kotler says, if we got all five of these in the amounts that we're getting them in the flow state, we'd be dead or drooling. But this is all natural. And these are by the way, are the most addictive chemicals known to man. This is meth, coke, heroin, pot, and ecstasy all at once, or not at once. They're actually in order. But these things create what Michele Csikszentmihalyi called the state that all of us on this planet Earth have sought for our entire lives. So the flow state is this place we really want to get. And some people maybe never get there, I'm not sure. But athletes and musicians and people that are really good at doing their jobs get there regularly. And so when you're in the flow state, there's a multiplying effect on how we write memories. And so instead of 40, 50 times more memories per second under the stress of uncertainty, risk, or interesting uniqueness, we now get 200-300 times more memory. And so if you can be in a flow state with a bit of risk, uniqueness, or beauty or intensity, suddenly you're writing memories at a rate that will lead to a lifetime that feels like 1,000 years.
Let's not skip over that. What are those 3 points again?
When you can be in the flow state,
Yeah.
your best self, doing your best work, your best whatever it is, with some risk, uniqueness, or beauty or intensity, then you stack all those things and you literally create time at a 300, 400x rate than you do when it's a boring, ununique day.
So back to the very risk, uniqueness, and beauty. Okay, so we're seeking out risk, uniqueness, and beauty to create a better relationship with time. And that goes back to how we open this conversation, that when life gives you choices, choose the one that gives you the best stories.
Correct.
Risk, uniqueness, and beauty. So when we flirt on the edges with those, we're going to experience this level of flow, which probably stretches time. I
Yeah.
don't know what the right wording would that be.
I like dilating, but you don't want to dilute time. You want to dilate time, which is
Yeah,
expand
right.
it well beyond its temporal boundaries. And so,
Yeah.
like this notion that you can create a moment that's worth minutes, worth month, worth years. Like I always ask my audience is there a boring week of days you trade away to keep in a really important day? And everybody says yes. And I'm like, all right, let's take it to the extreme. Is there a moment, a minute in your life that is so important you would trade away an entire year to keep it? And people will, they pause and I'm like, let's invert that. What if you could create moments worth a year? What if you could do 5 of those a year? What if you could do 10 of those a year? If you can do 10 moments worth a year, you don't live 50 more years, you live 500. And that's exactly and totally possible. Shall I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
So I had this theory that I could get into the flow state, have beauty, uniqueness, and emotional intensity all in one thing. As a speed skater, as a cyclist, my job basically in life for 2 decades was to travel at high speeds, balancing and trying not to get killed by other people. And so I thought, hey, and turning only left, by the way. And so I decided to run with the Bulls in Pamplona, and I set myself up on a left-hand corner because I only turn left. And I was like, I want to know how to do this. Like, this is very similar to my sport. So I'm going to be in the flow state. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be intense. It's going to be unique. And so they shot the firework at 8 a.m. and everybody started running like crazy. But there's no bulls. They don't teleport. I'm 600 meters away from where they're coming out. And then that slows to a trickle of scared looking people. And then there's a whole nother mass of people running, looking scared, looking behind them. And they're running into me and I'm fighting them off. And I'm near this barrier on the left-hand side. And then we see them, these giant bulls, 1,300 pounds, horns down, angry. their muscles heaving, their tails wagging, and next to them are 6 steers. They're 1,800 pounds. They run horns up. They're there to keep the bulls a little bit docile. And they're coming directly at me on this corner because they're going to make this left-hand turn. They're running at 18 miles an hour. And everybody's trying to pull me over the barrier, and I'm fighting them off because I came to run with the bulls, not near the bulls or away from the bulls. And then a couple bulls and a couple steers pass me, and then I see a spot, and I drop down from the barrier, and I'm just chasing this wagging tail. And I see the shiny hooves, I see the muscles heaving, and I'm like, as long as I stay close to this tail, I'm good because the horns behind me will keep a safe distance. We move into the plaza. All these people that have been running before are now milling about and running over the edges and a total mess. And then there's a 12-foot tunnel down into the stadium, and everybody's running and they're windmilling. And I see it all in slow motion because I've seen this all before. I know how this goes down in a bike crash or a speed skating crash. So I know where to be. I know where to position my feet. And I'm just following the tail in front of me, and I see the hooves doing this. And I'm like, as long as the bull behind me is as good at slowing down as this one, I'm fine. And we move through this narrow tunnel of humanity that piled up on either side. And I run into the stadium. They slam the doors behind me. 25,000 people are on their feet. I stand in the center with my arms up because I just did the thing I thought I could do. That entire thing took 17 seconds. 17 seconds. But I'll tell you, it's a lifetime.
And then you got to count the time that you've relived the experience.
Right. How many times have I told that story? Because it's a story, and it's living at the edge of your comfort zone, and the value of an increment of time is not related to its duration. That was 17 seconds worth at least a year.